A bunch of new gaming laptops were released this year, and so far they've been great. But RTX 5000 laptops are pretty damn expensive. So what about the budget options? Well, today I'm reviewing the cheapest 2025 gaming laptop I could find, the Asus TUF A16. So is it any good? And what sacrifices has it made to be cheaper? Well, let's find out. And please like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. The TUF A16 is quite a pretty laptop. It's got a black plastic body, but it looks like it's a lot more expensive. And this is quite high quality plastic. Sure, it's not as sturdy as aluminum or another metal, but it doesn't feel cheap at all. It doesn't shout gamer in its design and is actually pretty stealthy in an office setting. It's also quite thin for a gaming laptop, so this thing can pretty easily pass as an office laptop. And it's not as heavy as a concrete brick either, like most gaming laptops, which your spine will thank you for. But it does have the specs of a gaming laptop. A Ryzen 7 and the new RTX 5060 is a very nice addition here. It can be spec'd up to an RTX 5070 and a Ryzen 9 HX 370. Now that 370 is a really fast chip, but all of these other Ryzen processors are just last year's models with a fancy new name. This RTX 5060 gets up to 115 watts of power though, which means it should have all the power that it needs. But it only has 8 GB of VRAM, which is a little 2018. For a budget device, this thing is packed to the brim with ports though. It has basically every port imaginable except for an SD card slot. It's got a pretty compact power brick for 280 watts and actually uses the new Asus power connector, which is a lot better than those old barrel plug ones. But you could always just use a more compact charger for on the go, since it supports up to 100 watts of USB-C charging. The A16's keyboard is pretty nice. It does have an RGB backlight, but it's only single zone, so it can only be one color for all keys. It also has 4 macro keys at the top here, which can be customized in Armoury Crate, and also a full-size numpad, which some people will appreciate. As for the keys themselves, they feel quite nice. They're a bit thumpy, but feel basically the same as on the keyboard of the Strix G16, but a bit more stable. The delete button is in a really odd place, which is a bit getting used to, but overall this keyboard is great. Below that is its trackpad, which is quite large. It's made of plastic, so it isn't top of the line. It feels a little spongy and unbalanced, but it does have nice feedback and a satisfying sound. Yes, it feels a bit cheap compared to a glass trackpad, but hey, it works. Something else that works pretty well is its display. It's got a 16-inch 165Hz Full HD IPS level screen, which is quite nice for this price. Now that 165Hz refresh rate is the star of the show here. Playing fast-paced games like CS2 is really nice and snappy. Full HD is fine for 16 inches, but it does get a bit blurry if you sit closer to it, especially in games where you need to look far, like in Battlefield. The colors are a bit disappointing though. Now I might be spoiled by all the OLED displays I've seen, but these colors just don't look very vibrant or contrasty. The blacks look quite good though. It doesn't have much backlight bleeding, even in darker environments. With a max brightness of 400 nits, it's enough, but it could be a bit brighter in my opinion. But the matte coating prevents reflections quite well, which makes outside use a bit more bearable. Its display hinge goes back a full 180 degrees, which is quite nice. For its price, I might be nitpicking though. This display is definitely good enough for most use cases. Now normally, budget laptops have god-awful speakers that sound like you're listening to someone fart in a tin can. Is this the case with the TUF A16 as well? Well, no. It actually has really impressive speakers. It only has down-firing ones, but you wouldn't really know that by listening to it. They've got quite a bit of bass, they get decently loud, and it has a great surround sound-ish effect, which sounds awesome. It could have a little more bass and maybe a little more volume, but for this price, they are great. Its microphone is a bit robotic, but you can understand what I'm saying, which should be enough. And the webcam is actually great. Pretty high quality stuff. Now I want to see how this Ryzen 7 and RTX 5060 perform, so let's run some benchmarks. In Cinebench R23, its CPU runs alright, and it should be enough for most games, but it's a bit lacking compared to other 2025 gaming laptops. But in 3D Mark TimeSpy, its GPU is running about on par with a mobile RTX 4070 from last year, which is pretty impressive. But this thing is made for gaming, so how does it perform in some actual games?
Huh? Okay. I love you, man. Huh? Okay.
Kinda game.
You motherfucker, man. You motherfucker, man.
I'll hack you to pieces. Ha! You'll never take me down. What have they got on?
Uh-oh.
Metal toasted.
The TUF A16 is awesome for gaming. It actually outperformed laptops from last year with an RTX 4070, so it's definitely good enough for all modern games. The fact that its 5060 is limited by just 8GB of VRAM though, is an absolute crime. It would have been a lot more future-proof if it had 12 or even 16GB of VRAM, but at a budget, we just can't have everything. Its CPU is good as well, but obviously not the best of the best. Either way, it should be more than enough for anything you want to do on it, be it gaming, coding, or anything else. Its battery life is pretty poopy though. I tested it in two scenarios, under light use and during gaming. In the light use scenario, I played a YouTube video on it at full brightness, at 60 Hz, and with the dedicated GPU turned off. And here it only lasted 4 hours and 27 minutes, which is not a whole lot. Apparently this CPU is just not very power efficient, and in real world use, you're probably gonna see more like 2 to 3 hours of battery life. Now in the gaming scenario, I played Battlefield 1 on battery with the same settings as before. And here it, again, lasted around an hour, so basically like any other gaming laptop. But in terms of thermals and fan noise, it did very well. In the heaviest games, the CPU reached a maximum of 87 degrees, which is very nice for a gaming laptop. The RTX 5060 reached a maximum of 85 degrees, and while that is a little warm for a GPU, it's completely fine. Its palm rest stays nice and cool, but the middle of the keyboard and above that gets pretty warm after a while. But in general, it's very manageable. It still does make about as much noise as the average gaming laptop, so you will still need to wear headphones or turn your volume up. But during idle or light use, it stayed basically completely quiet. So far, this thing is great, but can you upgrade it down the line? Well, yes, definitely. This 2025 model has 2 SODIMM slots, so you can have up to 64GB of DDR5 RAM. It also has 2 M.2 SSD slots, so you don't have to replace your Windows drive to upgrade its storage. And it also has a Wi-Fi card slot, but for now, Wi-Fi 7 should be more than enough. It is awesome to see so much upgradability in these more budget-oriented laptops. Which brings us to pricing. This is currently the cheapest 2025 gaming laptop. It isn't cheap though. This cheapest model starts at around $1,300 to $1,500. The RTX 5070 model is a little more expensive, but it's also not a whole lot faster, I think. So the model I have here has the best value in my opinion. I mean, it outperforms last year's 4070 models, so that's pretty good I think. So the big question is the 2025 TUF A16 worth it? Well, I would say yes. It definitely gets my recommendation. Despite being a more budget-oriented laptop, it does almost everything right. It has great speakers, it has a good keyboard, it's relatively thin and pretty light, and while it might be limited in the future by that 8GB of VRAM, and it doesn't have the fastest processor, it is a great performer and can easily handle every game you throw at it right now. So if you're looking for a 16-inch gaming laptop, or even just a regular fast 16-inch laptop, this might be one of the best options out there. But is it more worth it than a laptop that's double its price? The Zephyrus G14 is basically just a more premium TUF A16. So what are you getting for that extra money? Well, let's compare them in the next video. Now let me give a huge shout out to my YouTube members. Soundwife, Thomas, Inky, Mr. Frosty Dude, Dropzone1, Martijn Snijkers, Flimsy, Felix Nathan, Aki, Disco Volante, Walter, Suryansh, Daniel, Mr. Nuke, Sebastian, Christian Sands, Real Elf, Squashbond, Alan, Toasted, A Random Guy, QME, Eric the Rad, and Wesley Rhodes. If you become a YouTube member, you get early access to content of mine, a shout out at the end of every video, and you'll also be supporting me as a creator to make these videos. And of course, you'll also be part of the Cool Guys Club, so you can use cool emojis like these in the comment section. So join the club if you're interested. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.
Lots of stairs, huh? Last time I had this much heavy